It's time for number 34 in my series of video game movie reviews, with a sequel that nobody was asking for of a movie that nobody was asking for. So pretty much nobody wanted this shit at all. But here we are. In the Name of the King 2, Two Worlds. I guess they dropped the Dungeon Siege subtitle because it was too hard to fit on the box or something. Is brought to us by the one, the only, the always enigmatic Uwe Boll! And stars Dolph, I will break you, Lundgren as Granger. This time our protagonist is from a far-off land in Canada, aka present day, but through some medieval witch fuckery, he gets dragged back through time, back to whatever time Dungeon Siege takes place. Medieval times! They don't really give us a date, it's just medieval. Swords, shields, chainmail, magic and shit. You know, a long fucking time ago. Apparently, Granger was prophesized to come back and save the land from the Dark Ones. They're killing it with these original names. So he sets off on a noble quest to save the land from the Dark Ones. And that's about it. I mean, there's some other shit that goes on in there between, but yeah, it's pretty much that. Shit. In the Name of the King 2, Two Worlds, terrible name, if you hadn't guessed, is the sequel to In the Name of the King, A Dungeon Siege Tale. But as mentioned before, they dropped the A Dungeon Siege Tale part of the title because I guess if they had put all that shit on a poster, the poster would have been nothing but just the fucking name. I mean, I guess I don't really try and figure out any of the reasoning behind any of the shit that they do with these movies anymore. The sheer fact that Uwe Boll was still getting movies made in 2011 is a fucking wonder upon itself. Moving on. If you've been watching this series, you'll know that I considered the original In the Name of the King okay. I didn't think it was nearly as bad as most people said that it was, and especially for an Uwe Boll movie. Really, with that and Postal, and there may have been something else, I really can't fucking remember, but he was kind of like on a streak there of making better movies than he had in the past. And then he went and made me look real stupid and made some more fucking Blood Rain movies. So I was hoping that maybe this sequel would fall in line with the original and at least be watchable. At least continue that trend of being somewhat better than what we were used to getting from Boll. And it kinda is. This movie is a step up from his last video game movie, Blood Rain 3, but it's not up to the quality of the original In the Name of the King, which does make sense because the original In the Name of the King was the highest budget movie that Uwe Boll ever made. The budget here has been cut considerably, and you can see that on screen. Though I will say for the most part, even though you can clearly see they didn't have a lot of money to work with, they did work with what they had, and it does look okay. From a story standpoint, this movie's just pretty throwaway. There is abso-fucking-lutely nothing that happens in this movie that is exciting. It teeters right there on the edge of just barely keeping your concentration at any given time. This is like a background movie while you're doing chores around the house or something. And really, the only thing that keeps this movie somewhat entertaining, surprisingly enough, is Dolph Lundgren himself. I've never considered Lundgren to be a great actor, though I've never considered him to be total shit either. With the movies he's usually in and the parts he usually plays, I think he does a good job with those. Usually going for that brainless kind of meathead strong guy kind of thing, and it works. Try and say Rocky 4 is not good, bitch. I'll come for you. I'll come through this motherfucking camera on that ass, and I will break you. Rocky 4 defeated communism! Oh, sorry. Hot button. Though here, Lundgren does actually display a level of charisma, especially compared to everybody else on screen. He walks through his lines with a very cavalier, I don't give a fuck attitude, and it does just kind of work for his character in this movie. Which does make sense because he has gone on the record in saying that he originally turned the part down in this movie, but when he started to go through a divorce, he took the movie just so that he could pay for that divorce. So he is clearly just here for a paycheck, but that I don't give a fuck about this thing and I'm here just for the money kind of attitude just kind of work. However, when he's going up against the rest of the characters in this movie, that's not really saying a whole lot. Shakespeare, this is not, but I don't think anybody is going into this movie expecting much to begin with. So the performances as a whole are okay. I mean, they're not awful, I'll give them that, but they're all just kind of dull. If nothing else, it's entertaining because Lundgren just clearly doesn't give a fuck and everybody else legitimately is trying. The sad thing is his I don't give a fuck performance is still better than the vast majority of everybody's legitimate trying performances. But since they are trying, it makes the performances okay. Look, I'm trying not to just shit all over this whole thing, so they're workable. We'll go with that. They're serviceable. How about that? Technically, the movie does look pretty low budget. However, I will say it seems like they may have learned from their past mistakes a bit, and they don't really exceed those limits very often. Until closer to the end of the movie. I was actually on board with the movie saying, you know, this movie's not great, but I can tell that they were working with what they had. They were doing the best with what they had, and I can appreciate that if nothing else. But then they went and introduced a whole bunch of CGI, most notably a CGI character closer to the end of the movie. And oh man, they shouldn't have done that. This is some bad CGI, man. And I mean like Mortal Kombat Annihilation bad CGI. And what makes it even worse is that it's that bad, and this is 2011. At least that movie came out in 1997. Still not an excuse. But this is 2000 motherfucking 11. There's no excuse for a movie to have this bad a CGI in 2011 unless it is on the Sci-Fi Network, which this movie was not. It's like real bad. It stands out like a sore fucking thumb. It stands out like a sore fucking thumb that was like chopped off, shoved up somebody's fucking ass, then a motherfucker like cut somebody's stomach open, pulled that thumb out, sucked on it a while, cooked it, and then went and like ate it and shit it the fuck out, and somebody found that pile of shit 3 years later and pulled the fucking thumb out. That's how bad the CGI in this movie stands the fuck out. On top of that, there really wasn't any CGI leading up to this part, so the fact that they just splurged right there at the end on this god-awful CGI really stood out. I don't get it, because it seemed like they knew what they were working with. It seemed like they knew, hey guys, we don't have a big budget here, but we're gonna do the best we can. We're gonna make this movie look the best it absolutely can on this low budget. And I was with them, but no! They fucking tricked my ass. Right there at the end of the movie, they was just like, you thought we was trying to make a good movie? Aha! Fuck off! Now I was holding on, but it was at this point that the movie just really lost me. Because you couldn't have just had a movie that looked okay for what it was and just gone out on that pseudo high note. But no, you had to get all the way to the fucking end and say, ha ha! You thought I was gonna make a good movie, but no, I'm gonna make this the biggest fucking hunk of shit just like the rest of my goddamn movies. And in that, you succeeded, my friend. Now I am ripping on these CGI effects, and they do fucking deserve it. The movie was actually of at least a workable, non-offensive quality up until that point. But they couldn't just make it a few more minutes without totally screwing the fucking pooch. And that just kind of really ruined the whole experience. Now don't get me wrong, it's not like this was some grand experience up to that point, but I was at least on board with it. I was there, I was like, all right, you've almost lost me a whole bunch of times, but I'm still here with you. I'm sticking with it. This isn't like egregiously bad yet, until it was. And at that point, I was just like, hands in the fucking air, I'm done. Guys, at the end of the day, In the Name of the King 2 is what most people do expect from Uwe Boll. Pretty much a heaping pile of dog shit. And that really is unfortunate because we're getting to the end of his video game movie career. And as much hate as the guy has gotten over the years, much of which is deserved by making these video game movies, I actually did want him to succeed. I want him to make a truly good movie, or at least a good video game movie. Yes, he had the first In the Name of the King, which was okay, and Postal, which was actually pretty good. But man, you got one more chance to hit this shit out of the park. One more fucking chance to go out on at least a somewhat high note. Hell, at this point, I'd just be happy if you didn't go out on a fucking low note. If you went out on like a fucking medium note. We'll see, but it definitely wasn't this one. In the Name of the King's got, at best, some serviceable performances that are entertaining to watch just because so many people are trying and the main actor's like, fuck off, I don't care. 2/3 of the movie actually look okay, but it's got some fucking terrible ass CGI that they inject in the end that kind of takes over the movie. And a more or less non-existent throwaway story that makes the whole package just bad. And while I was looking really hard to find something that would make this one at least worth a watch for the most die-hard Uwe Boll fans, but I really just couldn't come up with anything at all. And because of that, In the Name of the King 2, Two Worlds is a fucking dumpster fire. If they hadn't just totally screwed the fucking pooch with that piece of shit last third of the movie, I probably would have given this movie a slightly higher rating and said that it was at least entertaining enough to watch, seeing Lundgren's performance versus everybody else's. But no, what little bit of entertainment you can get here is totally lost in that last fucking third. It's just fucking egregious. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? And there's really just absolutely no reason in the world for anybody else to ever watch this fucking movie again. So there it is, guys, my review of In the Name of the King 2, Two Worlds. Fucking dumbass name. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Eb.
I have a feeling in the Black Forest, size does matter.
What's next on the video game movie review list? Oh, another sequel. And it's a sequel to one of the most celebrated franchises in movie history, too. Right.